1-0 to the Arsenal as the Pet Shop Boys sang. Finally, Mikel Arteta has bettered Pep Guardiola. Finally, the apprentice has beaten the master. Finally, the demoralising run of 12 consecutive Premier League defeats has ended. And finally, the spell is broken. And finally, Arsenal are clearly Premier League contenders. Now, some people had written Arsenal off. Some people had written Arsenal off even before a ball was kicked. But they have proven today that they have the fight, the minerals, the hunger, the determination and the belief within that camp to challenge for the league. Look, when Arsenal beat City in the Community Shield in August, I think that was a psychological lift. I think a slight element of why they believed that they could do it was because they overcome the Manchester City team at Wembley. But today, what happened today is going to be symbolic. It was a statement victory. It was the very definition of a statement victory. And their belief now, off the back of that, will be huge. At the end, we could see it. They went potty. That stadium was raucous. Their fans were going ballistic. I've just been on the tube. I got on the tube at King's Cross, mobbed with Arsenal fans and NFL fans, in fact, but mobbed with Arsenal fans singing that they genuinely love Mikel Arteta. And I think they believe that a Premier League could be on the horizon. Not everybody predicted that they could win the league at the beginning of this season, but some very shrewd operators did. And anybody that did see it coming will really feel validated today. They will know that this Arsenal team are looking like champions. Beating Manchester City in that context is a statement victory that is in keeping with winning the league. Look, last season's title challenge from Arsenal, I think, was unexpected. It caught a lot of people off guard. They were magnificent, but it was totally surprising. Nobody really saw it coming. But now, the expectations of the club have risen. But Mikel Arteta and his ability and his managerial acumen has risen alongside the expectations. Arteta has now faced 24 teams as a manager of Arsenal. 24 Premier League teams he has faced. And today, he can now say that he has beaten every single Premier League team that he has faced. Finally, the domino that is Manchester City has fallen. At long last, Arsenal have done it. It has taken a while, but they have got there. And Arteta has finally overcome that hoodoo of Pep Guardiola and Manchester City. The only goal in the game came from Gabriel Martinelli, but crucially, from an Arteta perspective, 4 substitutes. 4 substitutes involved in the goal. Every single change from Mikel Arteta had an impact on the goal. Surely that is a moment where we go, bravo, Mick. Not we, I don't want to say that, but you know what I mean. Surely we have to look at that and go, do you know what? When Arteta gets things wrong, when we have a conversation about Mikel Arteta making incorrect decisions, behaving poorly on the touchline, we are very quick to slander him. But surely, when he makes a change against the reigning champions, and the change links directly to a goal, Kai Havertz came on as a sub, sets up Gabriel Martinelli. And now Martinelli is a masterful footballer. I don't know if we discuss that enough. I don't know if we acknowledge quite how brilliant Gabriel Martinelli is and quite what the potential of this player is. I think because they have a potential Ballon d'Or winner, in my opinion, on the other side in Bukayo Saka. And because Bukayo Saka is maybe a Londoner, just feels so much like the public face of Arsenal, and because he was unplayable last year, I think sometimes it gets a little bit lost quite how dazzling a footballer Gabriel Martinelli is. He is truly sensational. The way that he carries the ball, he is one of the best in the league at it. And look, I think some people have been fairly snide about his start to the season. I don't think he performed to the level that we're used to seeing with Martinelli, but he is always capable of the spectacular. Think of that assist earlier in the season, the back heel, first day of the season, wasn't it? Like, he is a truly remarkable footballer. And when he came on at halftime, he transformed the whole look of Arsenal. Arsenal's whole team, but obviously their attack, looked so different, looked so much more venomous, so much more purposeful. And it was all because of Martinelli. But we have to trace it back to Mikel Arteta. Mikel Arteta made the change, made the aggressive substitution, and he went for the jugular. Now that is crucial. Guardiola knows the brilliance of Martinelli, you know. and he still couldn't deal with him. We've heard Guardiola wax lyrical about Martinelli. I think he fancies him at City, you know. I think that's how good a player he is. And Pep Guardiola definitely has an eye for a good footballer. And the fact that he believes that he could do a job at City, I honestly think that's the way he looks at Martinelli. Like, he's spoken about him in the past, hasn't he? He's referred to him as Mikel Arteta's secret weapon. He's got a secret weapon in Gabriel Martinelli. He's so aware of his incredible ability to carry the ball. And in the absence of Bukayo Saka, stars shine, man. You got to pick up the mantle. You got to take the baton on. And Gabriel Martinelli did that. He was so brilliant. And Guardiola, despite the fact that we've heard him talk him up, refer to him as an incredible weapon and all that, still couldn't live with him. And I think that Pep Guardiola would have been looking at Martinelli without his mate on the other side and feeling incredibly envious. You know, no Riyad Mahrez in this team, no Raheem Sterling available, none of those players that Guardiola could trust. And as a result, their attacking line was totally and utterly impotent today. Impotent. Nothing there. They tried hard. They tried other things. They brought Doku on. Nothing. Zilch. Arsenal were not troubled at the back. Do you know how incredible you have to be at the back? Do you know how forthright, how stubborn, how strong, how diligent you have to be at the back to stop Manchester City penetrating you? You have to be amazing. And they most certainly were. But why? Why were City so lacklustre up front? Why was Erling Haaland so insignificant? Like, the lack of creativity. They didn't really fashion a single chance. Literally not a single sniff at goal for Erling Haaland. That is remarkable. That is remarkable. And Arsenal and Declan Rice in that midfield and that defence deserve so much credit. Look, from a City perspective, I'm obviously not saying that this is a crisis, but after 6 straight league wins at the start of the campaign, they've now suffered the ignominy of back-to-back defeats for the first time in 5 years. 5 years it's taken them to suffer back-to-back Premier League defeats, but it's now happened. And the win for Arsenal also feels fairly symbolic. Like, it took them above City, which matters. It's there, isn't it? It's there. It's lurking. It's in your mind. You've gone above City. You're ahead of City. We're not far off a quarter of the way through the season, and you are ahead of Manchester City. That really does matter. It also, significantly, took Arsenal level on points with Tottenham. Tottenham and Arsenal at the top of the league. Do you know how painful this conversation is for a Chelsea fan? This is a nightmare scenario, as Tottenham and Arsenal sit at the top of the league. It's just so huge. It's so huge what Arsenal managed to do, the significance of it. It's so much greater than simply 3 points, because we now most certainly have a title race. And I think we actually have one that could involve more than just 2 teams going for it. Do you know who we need to talk about? I think a lot of people will talk about Martinelli and whatever else, and Declan Rice often gets his flowers, and rightly so. But Gabriel, and in particular Saliba, the centre-halves at Arsenal. I always like to mention Gabriel because I think people are aware of quite how good William Saliba is. He is exceptional, outstanding, at the heart of that Arsenal defence. He was the reason that Man City looked so impotent. But Gabriel deserves a mention. Barely ever puts a foot wrong. Commanding, brave, a winner. Feels like a true winner. And maybe he's not as good as Saliba, but you will do really well to find a better centre-half, aside from Saliba, in the Premier League. He's top class. He really is. And Saliba was just magnificent today. He is a true Rolls Royce of a defender. And watching him today, I think you can learn things, can't you? You can constantly learn things about history. I think that watching Saliba today, we can now pinpoint exactly where it went wrong for Arsenal last year. There was lots of talk about where Arsenal lost the league or why they lost the league. Talk about certain games at home, talk about Bukayo Saka missing a penalty at West Ham, talk about giving up the lead at Anfield. But Where it went wrong, I think it's fair to now conclude. It went wrong when Saliba got injured because basically they cannot cope without him. He is so good. He won 100% of his duels. He completed 97% of his passes. He did not commit a single foul and he did not get dribbled past once. Flawless. That is the definition of flawless. Saliba, just unreal. And this Arsenal team, they now have an element of steel, don't they? You know, when Partey's on the pitch, Saliba's on the pitch, Declan Rice is on the pitch, Gabriel's on the pitch. They're fighters, they're warriors. And it's all very well being silky and having the likes of, you know, certain more gifted, I don't know, Gabriel Jesus, for example, beautiful footballer. One of the best pressing forwards in the world, undoubtedly. But you need that edge, that aggression, that fight, that ugliness. And Arsenal certainly have that as well. They are fighters. And often it's that steel that makes the difference in games like this. Like warriors like Saliba and Declan Rice, they come into their own in a game like this. And you notice that Man City didn't really have theirs. They didn't have their soldiers. They missed Rodri so desperately. You know, they've lost 3 games without him. He was suspended for 3 games and they have lost those 3 games. That's how important he is. You never call City a one-man team, would you? But maybe you could. And that's the difference. Arsenal kept fighting to the bitter end. They desperately wanted it. They went for the jugular and they were brave. Because a game like that, it's so easy for it to peter out into a draw. But Arsenal kept going. And do you know what? A draw wouldn't have been a bad result for Arsenal, really. They could have accepted the draw. I think City had accepted it. But Arsenal kept going. And the fact that they kept pushing showed a new mindset, a greater determination, a greater ambition. And above all, a belief that they could challenge for the league. And that belief was epitomised by Martinelli, who got the winner. Arsenal did what Arsenal had to do. And that is this. In the preview, when I spoke to the old Don Robbie, I said Arsenal need to do this. It's not about performance. It's not about XG. It's not about style of play. It's not about anything aside from victory. Simply win the game. Find a way. And if you find a way against City, you can find a way against anyone. If you find a way against anyone, you can win the league. Huge night for the Premier League, but especially for Arsenal Football Club. They have beaten and well beaten Manchester City. What a moment. What a night. This could be it. This could be the date that the title race is blown wide open. It'll be very interesting to see how both teams react. Shame we've got an international break, eh? Thank you so much for watching this. Really hope you enjoyed it. If you did, please give it a like. Massively helps me out. And please consider clicking that subscriber button. It would be my honour to welcome you into this community. Thanks for watching.